Oh yeah, I think we are live. So thanks a lot, Amit. Yeah, so hi everyone. I welcome you all to Meshery's weekly development meeting. This meeting happens on every Wednesday, and we talk about Meshery as a project, all the work that is being done, all the events that we are attending and will be representing the project on, and also our future roadmap. So this docs that you all can see on your screen is meeting minutes for this particular call, and you would ideally go write your name with attendees and sound off with any agenda item that you may have. It could be an open issue or PR that you are working on or any general enhancements or proposal that you have. So feel free to write them all down into this meeting minutes. We will now be starting, and we do that by following our tradition, and that is, if you are a newcomer to this call, go ahead by giving your quick introduction. So I'll call some of the names that I think are newcomers. So Messi, is it the first time that you're joining this call? If yes, can you please give your introduction to all participants?
Hello, good evening. Good
Yep,
evening,
yep, we
everyone.
can
I'm
discuss.
Messi. I think this is my first time attending this particular call. So, currently, I'm more into distributed systems and cloud computing, and I would like to contribute to Meshery. Although I'm finding it difficult to pinpointing a particular aspect to contribute to because the projects are kind of like broad and I don't know. But I'm hoping this call will help direct me into the right path on making my contributions.
Yeah, I'm sure that it will, give you an idea. So thanks a lot for your intro and for joining the call. Tapelu, like, is it the first time that you're joining the dev call? If yes, can you please go next? And also let me know if, how your name is pronounced.
Hi guys, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. I think you did pronounce my name correctly. That's fine. That's Tapelo. Oh yeah, yes. Yeah, I'm working with Kubernetes, and Docker, mostly using Python as a backend language. So my plan is to fully understand stuff around Kubernetes, and then I'm also exploring Golang as my next programming language that I want to learn. So yeah, I'm here to learn and contribute as much as possible to the community. Thank you.
Fantastic. So, yep, we do discuss Kubernetes and all the things around it. So I think, you will be helpful in there. Also, if talking about Golang, we'll be discussing a very new, area that we are introducing. So hopefully you will also get the chance to take a look at that. So thank you for your intro. I think that is all, for newcomers today. If I missed anyone, make sure that you give your introduction in chat, and you can, again, have access to this docs. It's linked in chat. All right, with that, let's start with standing agenda items. And we would be ideally covering Meshery CTL, but Matthew is absent, who is, CLI maintainer. So we'll be skipping past this item, but I'll make sure that I share this command tracker in chat box for anyone who might want to take a look. Next up for UI migration, I think Amit will be giving us an update.
A quick question,
if
I could, on the topic of CLI. We've mentioned the need for, I think, maybe 2 additional subcommands, if I'm calling them correctly. But it was a command like Meshery CTL model init and Meshery CTL model, I forget, something else. And there were a couple of people, I think, that are on the call now that had, I think, given some consideration as to what those might turn into. Is there any update on those? unless Ria or Salvik is too shy, maybe, to speak to that. I thought maybe between the two of you.
I've created a design spec for that, which I shared with Ria. But further discussions were not there to, as in, we'll take up and work on that. Design spec for build command is not done yet. There are two commands, right? Init and build. So the build is not done yet.
Okay, nice. Yeah, thanks for that update. That's great. So I guess just for context for everyone else, real fast, there are Meshery models the infrastructure that it manages in a highly detailed fashion. So Meshery has many components that represent individual configurable aspects of cloud native infrastructure. There's a number of thousands of components that Meshery has, but these components are bundled into individual groups, into models. So like there's one Meshery model for AWS EC2 and like how it is that Meshery can configure an EC2 instance, a cloud virtual machine inside of AWS. And so Meshery has like a little over 300 models with many components inside of each one. And so anyway, if someone wants to create a new model, there's a proposal to have this command here, this Meshery CTL model init, like to just sort of create a skeleton model, or like the scaffolding for a model. So anyway, Meshery CTL is written in Golang, and it uses Cobra as a framework. It uses a bit of Viper as well. And I don't know, Salvik and Ria, if at some point there's a design spec that's been reviewed, it sounds like it hasn't been through review just yet, but it might be a link that you want to drop in the meeting minutes or in the Zoom chat, and for folks like Tapello, if he's just getting into Go, or folks who are already into Go, maybe like Raphael. Raphael was signing up to take on a big old bite into Meshery, which is wonderful. And Raphael, I apologize. Like the issue that I had opened up wasn't descriptive of like how big of a bite that really was. So anyway, Raphael and others, there's just a random kind of call out to some work to be done in Golang in Meshery CTL that at some point will be pretty well described, and it might be something for people to sink their teeth into. At the moment, anyone here is welcome to sink their teeth into the Google Doc or the design spec that Salvik will share. And so
I've shared it in the chat.
nice. Oh, yeah. Hey, Vivek, thanks for letting me interrupt. Just wanted to.
So thank you, Savik and Lee. So Amit, do you mind sharing the UI migration update?
Yeah, sure. So for the UI migration, we are tracking some of the migration, like the material UI migration and converting the class-based component to functional-based component. So the material UI migration was done previously to the material version 5. And currently we are tracking, our focus was like the migrating the class-based component to functional-based component. So in the last week, there is not much activity, like some of the components like this one, and yeah, 2 to 3 components was migrated to the functional base. But yeah, there is been, this list was pending, like migrating to the functional base component. So yeah, this is a status of this migration. So any question?
Yeah, wait, I could be misreading. Oh yeah, I am misreading it. Lines 48 on down below, it's like, oh, never mind. I'm misreading it. There are many things that are done, but line 59 through 67, is this an open call? Are you inviting volunteers and collaborators, people who know React?
Yeah. So any of knew the React, and this will be the easy first issue that they can tackle, like the migrating the class-based component to functional-based. So there is requirement of those which are not assigned, and yeah, so anyone can come and
Amit, like one thing, some of these components are a bit complex, like logic wise, and like some newcomer would just like add up introducing bugs and won't have like good. I think like especially for like the remote extension, and maybe probably you would do that yourself, like the remote extension component, because it has lots of logic that somebody won't know. And
okay, yeah,
also for
yeah.
the Grafana components, I think couple might be already doing some of that, but I think last time he told like he might be interested in migrating them, so maybe these might be still on his plate. And yeah, but for the other simpler ones, might be somebody would take it up.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah.
So yeah, currently, basically, I have converted many components from class-based to functional-based. So there is some testing required. So currently, I'm doing those testing, and I have contacted to Falgun as well. So he have also migrated many of the Grafana-based components. So yeah, he will raise some PRs today or maybe tomorrow, because some testing is going on. Because in our previous PRs, we were facing that those components were having some issues. So what we did was, first we are going out through some testing, and after that we are making a PR. So it will take some time, but yeah, till the end of this week, all these components will be migrated.
Okay, you are partnering up with Kapil. Okay, nice.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm getting help. I'm getting a lot of enthusiasm for the Grafana and Prometheus part. So yeah, can use every bit of help. Sure.
Yeah, makes sense.
For giving update on UI migration. For next two items, I'll just simply be sharing the link. And we'll be starting with topics. And the first topic is from Falgun on updating React 19. Do you mind sharing the update? So is it a proposal, Falgun? I think we are, he has some bandwidth issues. Yeah, so we'll circle back to you, Falgun. I think you are having some trouble with bandwidth.
Yesterday only.
Yep. So Kapil, looks like you are up next.
Yeah. Okay, so basically this is what's happening. So we have fixed like a major part of the issues that we're facing with Prometheus and Grafana. So now if somebody connects a Prometheus and provides the dashboard as like provides a dashboard that is in the expected format, they'll get what is expected, that their dashboard will connect. They'll be able to like see panels rendered. That MR is already merged. I have another MR open, but actually it was a dependent MR. So I have one question, like how do you guys do dependent MRs? Like it was a dependent MR, but Abid didn't know. So Abid merged the dependent MR. So the one which I raised first stayed as like that didn't get. So it is no problem. Like all commits got merged, obviously, because it was based on that branch. But still, I'd love to do dependent PR so you guys can review like each part of the progression I'm going through. Apart from that, I have a proposal today. So basically, before we invest a lot of contributor hours into making what we have right now, like fixing the things around it, are we in a position to consider something where we could like sort of overhaul the whole thing? My suggestion is first for the Prometheus part. I'm working on the Grafana side right now, but for Prometheus, I have a solid understanding of what a good UI or good user experience could look like. So this is just the direct UI of Prometheus I've opened. It's a local instance. Anybody who thinks Prometheus would like first thing they think is PromQL, like how can I do my PromQL? So I'm thinking to have, rather than a JSON input, have a PromQL input which allows them to like we already have the ability to execute queries in the backend. We have just hooked it up in a different way. We have hooked it up using that JSON dashboard. So we sort of parse the JSON dashboard to get the query, then send the query to Prometheus to send it to actual Prometheus instance. Rather than doing that, let's get direct PromQL in there. Then we need something like this to allow like a table-based output of your PromQL query or a graph-based output. I don't want to go full PromQL, so my current proposed solution will only include like 3 parts. One, I'll add more fields in the Prometheus connection itself to allow for connections against authentication enabled Prometheus instances. So Prometheus allows MTLS authentication. It allows for API key based authentication. So both of these require new like fields to be added in the Prometheus connection. So those will be introduced. An input bar for like sort of getting the PromQL queries to be introduced. And then the charts that we are currently using, the Grafana custom chart component that we are using, that will have to be changed in a manner to like allow for like directly just showing the output for the PromQL query. There won't be a support for multiple queries. There won't be support for like in the first at least version, there won't be support for multiple queries. At once you can only do one query, have the chart presented, and then you'll have to do like sort of this is something that you would do on a Grafana Explore page basically. So that is a proposal that I'm proposing. I'm looking for feedback. More questions? Fine.
Yeah, actually, like one question on like adding the support for authentication, like are you familiar with the like I think we have another construct with respect to connection. It's like called credentials. So a connection can have some credential, like maybe you can use them. I'm not like
Exactly.
much
That's
familiar with
exactly what
that.
is going to be used. Yeah.
Yeah.
Currently, there is a in backend we have the somehow the backend was written with the understanding of everything correctly, and the front end was written with completely no understanding of what the backend was trying to do. There is already a credential. It's already putting it in there, but with an empty string.
Yeah.
I just need to bring in the credential there. Simple. I just need it in UI input, and I just need to send it to backend.
Yeah, like the backend was enhanced, but actually, yeah, the UI was never enhanced. It's like still the same
Yeah,
concept
there
from
seems
4
to be a
years
lot
ago.
of contrast between the two.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, so yeah, for authentication, yes, we'll use credentials. Local provider is struggling with credentials. Today will be the MR, like I'll have the MR open today for that. But yeah, then local and remote provider both can do credentials. I guess I don't see. So can I take this as a yes? Like I haven't heard any opinions that are on contrary to what I'm proposing. Lee, if you're struggling to see what I'm trying to say, you can. What I'm referring to is having something similar to the basic Prometheus UI, where the user could just run the PromQL query, and the charts component that we have that will be enhanced to sort of give. But this will be a single query sort of environment
Yeah, I
rather
think
than having
like
dashboards.
yeah, I was saying like part of I agree because like we were thinking to like kind of like widgetify it so it can be like the chart component can be used as a widget with like where you specify the query you want and then you can like put it anywhere because with the enhancement that Amit did with the customizable dashboard, so we can like if we have a like a generic chart component that can take a PromQL, then we can like use it as kind of a base component to generate all of those charts and use them as widgets on different pages or on the dashboard. I think
yeah. I can break that. Grafana charts component currently entails everything: date range picking, template vars. It includes a lot of stuff. So I can bring it out and just have a simple chart component that just takes a PromQL, fetches the data out, and then just renders it out. Sure, like would love to. I'll add that as in.
Do we have any more comments or feedback?
Any comments, feedbacks? I guess not. Then I just
Yes,
need to propose.
Yeah,
Lee,
sorry,
go ahead.
I'm slow on the roll today. I want to be quite encouraging. Like, I don't, sounds pretty great. There should be there are existing components that use Billboard.js, sort of the charting library that the project uses, that do graph metrics, and actually that they might be working now because of Kapil's work. And so I'm saying something that he's already familiar with. But yeah, that those might be widgetified since that's a word, and put into the, into the dashboard. The idea of starting small with like, hey, just the core functionality of like a single PromQL, sort of negating or circumventing this conversion from PromQL to JSON to then sort of PromQL again, or to then like invoking the, like, makes some sense. It is helpful. We do want the ability for people to, we don't want to be contentious necessarily with their investment in Grafana, and to just say, hey, you can import your existing dashboards real fast. I didn't see anything in the proposal that painted us into this architectural corner that was at odds with where we might build things out to be. Like the idea that there's a chart that it's sort of visually, if you think about clicking to edit the chart to maybe change the query to add a different metric, or is like, maybe it would turn around, you'd see the back side of the chart. Oh no. We've got this drawing tool, it's called Canvas. and it's like blasphemy right on this call to be using this draw. Anyway, yeah, no offense taken at all.
I'm so sorry. I just used to this workflow.
My heart is racing right now. I'm just trying to calm down, Lee. Anyway,
Yeah.
I was trying to think of where to poke a hole in what was suggested, and
So I have the holes also mapped out. I'm good. Like when I do this whole proposal thing, this is something that I put together in like half an hour. I was just working today and then just came back and started on this. This proposal is gonna have some holes. I'm gonna ask you to make some trade-offs because simplicity is not cheap. Like it's gonna come at some odds. Some functionality is going to go away from what we already have to reach this point, to like sort of allow this, because if we go for a full-fledged like Prometheus type environment where we want to replicate like multiple queries to be allowed and then those charts to be picked up, it's gonna take way longer than like something that I would like deliver something faster, so that then if the ask comes, if I see the hunger, I'd love to like keep building it out.
yeah, there's one.
Yeah.
I think the only question that I had about what's currently like the current path is, where are we intending to store the query, like the chart definition, so to speak, or the query definition, the PromQL?
At the moment, it's going to be ephemeral. It's not permanently stored. Like if you wipe this out, you're gonna wipe out your chart and you'll have to start from something
Oh, I
like
see.
this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, then we don't have to discuss it, or then it's not again, we're not like.
So yeah, one thing missing in this is I've not taken into account the picture of the JSON dashboard that was already there. So maybe some combination will have to be set up such that once you are done with your PromQL, you can bring it to something where I'll save it then, for the way we saving JSON dashboards. So maybe some link has to be made between the two. I'll figure that out and have a better proposal. But I think so far from whatever like we've discussed, I think there is a need to do this. So I am going to continue doing it. Apart from that, I am asking for this thing. Like I saw that the remote and local provider do not have any test file, and I understand why, because like sort of DB and then there is API calls. So how do you gonna test it? So mocks and all that. But basically, the methods at the moment are like sort of at odds with one another. Like, for example, the connections persister is sort of much well like written as compared to the credential persister. So what happened is then like credential persister broke and we never knew. For a while, it would have been like central functionality of it would have been broken because the credential table is not present. When we are doing the DB auto migrate in CMD main.go, we're not even migrating the credential table. So I'm like that means credentials were never supported in local provider, although we had all the methods there. So I'm looking for like setting up even we can start with like just method level sort of unit tests that at least check the input and output of that method. Then we can go more complex. like something mocked or something, but is there any ask for that? Any attempts previously which I am not aware of?
Yeah, like one thing that we already have is for end-to-end tests. We have like we use the matrix for
Okay,
tests. So
right.
like we both test local provider using local provider. The same test case are run using local provider and also using the remote
Okay.
provider. So like any shared functionality would be tests for it. I think the issue right here is that we don't have probably like test for some of the functionality that we have. So like I think if we can cover it in using this end-to-end flow, I think it would be helpful because then we can test the UI, the backend function, like the
Sure.
whole thing together, and we won't need to develop like any additional
Okay,
system.
then with my local provider PR, I can add a playwright test maybe that would
Yeah.
like sort of cover this part.
Yeah.
Okay, and then
Yeah.
last I want to propose to deprecate the Grafana charts component. It's not used anywhere. Grafana custom charts is the one that's being used, and the contributors are getting confused because there are these two and they are not like pretty much like they're similar, but one of them is not used, another is used. So I'm
Yeah,
I'm
like
looking to deprecate it.
yeah, if it's not used anywhere, then we can remove. It's probably I think it was the old component, then the new one was created.
Yeah.
Nobody removed the old one.
Yeah. Okay, cool. These are all three things that I wanted to discuss. Thank you so much, Vivek, for giving me the time. Where is stop share? Here it is.
So thank you, Kapil, and others. Next up, we'll be having this update from Matthew on MeshCTL end-to-end tests using bands.
Yes.
Yeah, so do you mind?
Yep, sharing my screen. Okay, so here it's just a starting point that I'm trying to do here. It's a pull request that it's open to feedback, etc. But basically, we have a Meshery test plan that is documented in that spreadsheet, where we want to validate that all commands executed in Meshery STL is working properly. So basically, what we will do in this, it will be to install Meshery STL and then run each commands and subcommands and validate the output like we do with unit test or integration test, or currently with Playwright for the end-to-end testing. So this is the beginning. Here I just add a manual step in the CI just to be able to validate that the things it's working. But basically, what we have in that pull request, we have the main script here, which is where everything will be run. And like a lot of tests, we can use the setup and the teardown. In the setup, currently, I'm just installing the Meshery STL client. And in the test, the first test that I have done here, it just validates that the client is well installed and it's working properly. And also to start Meshery server with Kubernetes, and we will have to implement all the other commands and tests. Currently, I'm still learning the BATS framework that I'm not really. It's the first time that I'm using it, so I'm still learning. Also, if there is people that want to contribute in that area, just reach out in Slack, in the Meshery CTL channel or in Meshery CI. So, and we will discuss where we can start. Nothing else about that.
Nice. Matthew, thank you. Hey, a couple of thoughts that a couple of concepts that if you were to hold in mind as you go forth, you might already be completely aligned with these. But if the workflow, if we were able to go back to it for a moment, I wonder if you might share that one more time. If the more that we're able to, well, mimic the steps that users do or that we've got written into our doc, all the better. There's like when we go to install Meshery CTL, you're using like the exact bash command that's from meshery.io under getting started. Beautiful. Underneath, there's this check or this, we're creating a temp directory, and maybe we need to do that, or maybe if that's not something that the user does, it's just an open question like, oh, wait, anytime that we deviate from the instructions that are listed in the docs or that, if we go back to looking at those, it'll be a little more evident.
Just for context here, the temp directory that I've created, what I have in mind here, it's if we want to, I know that in some command we are generating models, files, etc. So it will be the place to store all those files, and then the teardown will just clean everything. It was just for that. It's just a property.
Yeah, is it the temporary files generated by bats or temporary files generated by Meshery CTL?
Here it's just me that create that folder to store the files that can be generated by Meshery CTL commands. For example, I didn't remember, but if you there's some command where we are generating CSV files or JSON files. So at the end, those files will go in that directory, and at the end of the test, we just clear everything.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We do. Yeah. Just through regular use of Meshery CTL, it will, like you said, create or retrieve different files, and it puts those by default into the user's home directory under that hidden Meshery CTL. I'm telling you stuff that you know, but under that hidden Meshery CTL folder. And the reason I was highlighting it is just like, well, if at any point we're deviating from that, or if we're telling Meshery CTL to behave differently than it normally does.
No. Yes, I have in mind that we really want to do like a real user is doing. This is just a folder to store temporary, just files that we need for the test, and after that it will be clean. For example, here what I'm seeing, it will be fixtures, for example, if we want to generate fixtures before running a command, we can do that in that folder, and at the end it will be clean.
Nice. Makes perfect sense. There was another area that I was gonna so the very first workflow or the install CLI, actually it's the very first workflow. Oh wait, I take it back. There's only one workflow here, one GitHub action workflow, and it invokes the test suite. And inside the suite, there's step one and output and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, great. There was a comment that I thought I was going to make about, I'm not sure. Anyway, if you go down just a little bit, I'm not sure.
So, like, just to give you some idea of what I'm trying to do, when you run the bats command, since it's in bash, it will run in sequence. It will be sequential. So that's why I have created those folders with the leading number 00, 001, etc. So when we will run the command, we can ensure that what we need to be run first will be done at the beginning, and then we can run all subcommands properly, and that's it. Also, I was wondering if we need to create a documentation page for that, and if yes, where it will be the better place to add this.
Yeah, there's probably two sets of documentation pages that I think the one that you're alluding to is something like, hey, if you're contributing to the CLI, are there and
Yes,
you
we
create
could.
yeah, that kind of that this end-to-end testing, like this is really right now that this page is really UI end-to-end test, like that client, the UI client. This is our other client. There's two clients, so it can have an end-to-end testing page. And this one, maybe it should move to UI, or we should clarify that this is UI and then make another page that's CLI. One thing that over time would be really quite awesome is, well, the same is true for the UI end-to-end testing, is to get those results out of the PRs and into, not out of, I mean, they can stay in the PRs. Like that's great. You want to see the results in line inside the PR, and it's a real easy thing to do to just export as a text file the results of test one, step 2, step 3, pass, and to have something like this. These are back-end, end-to-end tests. As a matter of fact, some of these were run with bats a long time ago, and oh man, and there's to start with, it doesn't need to be nearly as sophisticated as what we have here, but the idea being that, but if you browse through these, you'll get a good sense of it. There's other folks like Vivek Vishal who are here who, if given a data file, just output from tests saying this was the test name and this was the outcome of the test, that can help with bubbling this up, because there was a lot of effort put into this particular thing. The project has since moved away from its heavy emphasis on adapters, and this has been written in context of adapters. But of all the work that's put in on the end-to-end tests in the UI and on the CLI now, bubbling that up so that people have this, like, hey, what's the status of Meshery? What's the status of its compatibility? At some point, for all those models and all those integrations that Meshery has, they'll be the most, ideally, if we had all the time in the world, we would have one of the most complex compatibility matrices out there, where this version of Meshery and that version of Kubernetes and that version of AWS EC2, and like, to start with, to Kapil's point about how he's approaching the telemetry, is something super simple and arguably stupid, or like just the simpler the better, but bubbling up some of that. Some folks have recently, when Jaren's was contributing, had they begun to expose some of the end-to-end UI tests and their results into a page. Something to put on the radar, something to start to think through. Something else
Sorry, I cut you, but from what I saw with bats, you can give the format of the output of the results, and I think that we can generate files. And currently, I commented that part, but I saw locally I were able to generate XML files. Perhaps there are other options more elegant for that. We will check.
That's awesome. This is great. This is great. And actually, Matthew, you might be, just a fair warning, you might have a super popular initiative on your hands. I mean, like for just sort of like for Tapello, who's just coming to the project, or Mercy or others. Like, I know for me, being the weak engineer that I am, or like being able to sort of script things sometimes, like Bash is one of those things that it was one of the first things I got introduced to, and it's relatively straightforward. Like, just a fair warning, you might have a super popular, like I could see how if you're as you're setting up this framework, and that many people might come to contribute, that would be a terrible blessing for you. So one other thing before I forget is that Kapil, there's something that you might be aware of and you might not. I'm going to have a really hard time conveying it to you, I think, at the moment. But this concept of working with, well, I guess I'm logged out. I hope I'm logged out. Working with connections and establishing, like, as you refine and enhance the Prometheus connection, and potentially which Prometheus connection is querying for what, what thing, what metrics. There is something of a connection wizard, such that when Meshery, Mesh Sync discovers infrastructure and identifies that there's a Kubernetes, it's generally like a Kubernetes service, something that Meshery can connect to, a service, and perhaps it's of a certain type that Meshery, discovers it. It doesn't necessarily know that you as a user want Meshery to do anything more with it other than just be aware of it. Let's say that it's one of those Prometheus servers that you do want Meshery to connect to, and so you do want to use as a data source. It's like, I don't think it's going to work at the moment, but Ian was just pointing out, I don't know if he's on the call, but that you'd click here and you can go to like connect or register rather. And you might have seen it before, but there's a small wizard that comes up. That wizard is in bad shape, but it walks you through connection specific questions. And so there is a connection definition for Prometheus that can be customized for Prometheus specific questions, because Prometheus has certain types of authentication, like you were saying. And so I just wanted to highlight this, really just put it in the back of your mind as to be aware of that. I can't demo it to you. I think we've got some bad logic here, but
yeah, but okay. Yeah, this makes a lot more sense. Maybe this is where all the fields in the backend were coming from. I was scratching my head like, who is sending these form values? Now I understand there might be another form that I was just not aware of.
That's exactly. Yeah, form is a great word to use. That's exactly what in that wizard. It's like driven by a form, an input form. Matthew, I didn't mean to cut us off our chat, but near as I can tell, that first of all, it looks like it's well-written workflow, clean, documented, accounted for, like the steps themselves. Yeah, ideally JSON output or just some text-based as opposed to X, but it doesn't really matter. Like XML will do the trick, fine, great. Like start to get that stuff exposed. Certainly even there's frameworks that we use right now that help comment back on the pull request itself as well, that could potentially be leveraged for exposing the UI end-to-end tests. The results show up in a comment. We might be able to use that same like pull request commenter, that sort of pull request comment formatter with the way that it exposes test results. Might be able to just double on top of that with the CLI. So, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so next up we have this update from Aman, and I think Aman is on the call with us. So Aman, do you mind going next, sharing your screen and walking us through your update?
Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
So basically, I have enhanced document. I have created a document under contribution folder, which is named as contributing UI dashboard, which includes Meshery's dashboard extensibility, integration points, customization options, and best practices, including and developing the extension. So the topics which I have covered in this document include dashboard frameworks, which include layouts, sizzling widgets, and user preferences. And another is consideration of local versus and a remote provider. Third, I have covered is inclusion of an example widget, REST and GraphQL API with examples, how we can integrate and how can we use REST and GraphQL APIs for extensions. Permission includes role-based permission, other permission with permission keys and etc. I have also included other examples for troubleshooting, for any error checks or contributing back. Also some setup guides. Next, lastly, I've included publishing Meshery IO extension, which includes how a user can publish its own IO extension. It also includes some mission ways and other things with a proper example and references of other documents. That's all that I've included.
Thanks a lot for sharing updates. We'll look for any feedback if anyone has any.
Someone like don't add the logic of how the setting up the Meshery UI and stuff like this. Just we have already pages for that, so just add the reference URL there.
Okay. Yes, I found that some of the things I should exclude, which are making it more lengthy. The setup and forking and contributing guide, I should exclude that from this. Okay, I'll work on it.
I just saw like somewhere you were like showing how we do the APIs, and I think it's a bit wrong how you had the code examples. Like if you correct that,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
add the like I think maybe like one thing that would be nice is like just as an example show a widget like an example code for an actual widget that would work, and I think that would help users, but they would get mostly everything for it. So I think if you take some of the simpler widgets that might be right now existing and just like refer to that, that would be also helpful.
Sure, sure. I'll mark it.
So yeah, thanks for your updates,
For
Aman.
the
So
All right,
did,
next up.
yeah, on that Pranjal, you didn't have any feedback. Huh?
yeah, I'm actually seeing the code right now. Yeah, it's looks good to me. Mm,
Do we have a policy widget? What is that? Aman, you had pointed out a policy widget. Is there
Yeah.
one? Can you say a little bit more about that? I'm not familiar with it.
I have declared based on I have read our documents, so I have found some policy widgets which can be used for policy comparison and all. But I have referred the link. I don't think it is making sense out of this document.
Yeah, is there such a, yeah, Aman, and
Yes.
I totally encourage, I'm so pleased that you're using an AI generator to help work through this. That super helps. But
No,
you
I
gotta
have read.
call it, you gotta, Aman, you gotta call it's BS where it is BS. Otherwise this is the second time that I'm reviewing and the same thing for the topology wizard example. Aman, you gotta, at some point, if you're just throwing BS up, like for my part, I won't spend time reviewing. So you got to at least vet what it's saying. Please. But
So
keep.
yes.
Okay, so next topic.
Yeah, so Pranjal, do you mind sharing your update?
I don't have currently, but yeah, 1, 2 issues, I suppose. Okay, so there are. Okay, one second. Yeah, this issue I created last time, and what was happening like when we are on the design space. So when we are creating a pattern, or even if we are editing a pattern, you can check this video out. So whenever we are editing something in configurator, then actually it was not actually editing the pattern itself. It was creating a different design pattern with I think having null values, as you can check out. So if you know like something about it, you can just share with us on this issue. Also,
Pranjal, do you like is this an issue or a PR for fix?
actually currently this is an open issue. Yeah.
I think yeah we discussed I think earlier. Yeah, it's on my list.
Okay, so another thing I was like for these I'm creating a similar kind of like documentation, but if Aman creates it better, also I'm like going to take a session on Monday, I think, for like how can easily you can create the widgets. So yeah.
So thanks, Pranjal, for your updates. Next up, do we have Pratik on the call? Yeah. So Pratik, do you mind sharing this update of yours on CI? You're on mute just in case, Pratik. I think we'll circle back to Pratik. In the meantime, we have these two updates from Harsh, and I think Harsh is on the call.
Yeah, let me just share my screen. So yeah, so basically there was an issue, so which was basically telling us that whenever we are visiting, is my screen visible? It has gone like some, yeah.
Yep, it is.
So whenever we are going to our what we call it assistant page, where basically just let me show you. So here the footer is working completely fine. But what is happening if I'm directly visiting here, it is giving me some hydration issues. So see, so it is giving me some hydration issues. So I was working on this issue and I was not able to, how could I solve it? So I require help here. Because of it, the duplicacy of the footer element is coming here because of that hydration issue. Hello.
I think you also can share this in discussion forum, so folks when they later take a look at it will be sounding off with any help they have got for you.
Okay. Apart from this, there was one more PR that I was working on. So yeah, it was basically based on the assistant updation that I have done. So now the new version of the assistant has been launched. So that particular PR will also be working fine. So I will do that as well. This was all from my side. And there was one issue that I have created from our previous meeting, that we are going to have and one more section here named the assistant icons. So there we will able to preview all the icons that we have in our assistant library.
That's great.
Okay, yeah.
Any other updates from you?
No, this was all from my side. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Harsh. I don't think we have Harsh with us on the call. And so we'll go right back to Savik on these two updates.
I'll share my screen. Yeah, so one bug I was working on, it was about duplicate connection being registered in the logs. So the issue was that no matter what operation was performed, like updation or creating a new connection, there was always a registered event being emitted. So I refactored it into having, if a new connection is discovered, then we emit two events. One is created and one is registered. And if already exists, then we send updated event. And if and for post registration, some credential related updations are done, and for that there are different events. So these are the changes. Another thing I was working on was fixing over here. Like you can see, it's hard to differentiate the number of connect, like both are pointers over here and both have different functionalities. So I guess it's down. But yeah, so also we were supposed to get rid of this one. So I went ahead and made few changes. So now instead of clicking on the card, there's a button to like to be more intuitive about that they can know more about this specific widget. And this works as it was working previously. Yeah, and I like removing reconfigured, like it would leave a empty space. So I went ahead and like just showed the current status and disabled the button. Like any feedback on this would be appreciated.
Thanks a lot,
I'm not
Savik,
sure if
for your update.
I just have one small
Yeah.
question. Like, I'm not sure if you're like, I see that you're working on the UI side, but if you're familiar with this, like, are deletes for connections expected to sort of wipe them out from the remote provider as well? So if I've deleted my connection from Meshery like UI, is it expected that it will be like deleted from the remote provider as well?
I'm not too sure about this. If anyone is, they can address this.
Yeah, Kapil, ask that again.
Yeah, basically, so what's happening at the moment is when I'm adding a new Prometheus and then deleting it from the metrics settings page, my remote provider still contains reference to all the deleted Prometheus connections. While in my like in the if when I open in UI using my remote provider login, it will still show me one connection only, the latest one. But in when I go to Spaces integration, I'll see the list of all the connections I ever did, which were of type Prometheus. So, and I see that delete is being called though, like a delete API is being fired by the Meshery backend whenever I delete the connection. So I was a little confused if that was intentional, or maybe I have to check that delete method to see is it actually correctly deleting or not deleting.
Yeah, it's a soft delete. Like it's that the record for the Prometheus connection or a credential or any, those records in the database are to be, and they probably are being tombstoned, like marked as they've been
Marked as
deleted.
delete. Okay.
Yeah, deleted at this timestamp. And I suspect there's a bug in the API that gets connections that it's just not considering for exclusion of deleted. That's my guess. It could be something else, but Salvik, is that something that you can take
Yeah,
point
yeah,
on?
definitely. Yeah.
Okay, get back to Kapil on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll formalize what I asked in a Slack message so it's easy to track.
That would be great. All right.
Savik, do you have any other updates?
Yeah, I had one. It was about GitHub Wizard. Like, I think sharing that would like, do we have time or like?
I think we can quickly cover yours, the last.
Yeah. So just for contrast, this is how it was the GitHub Wizard was previously. As discussed, the main idea was to move all the written content or any informational stuff from the right to the left one, to the left tips, at replacing these tips, and that's what I went ahead with and reduced a lot of padding and stuff. They like this is easy on eyes, but the problem is a lot of white spaces is being here, like when we do not have much to show, especially in this first step uh, where we do not have anything to show on the right, but we do have like content to show. So something we might have to think upon, or any inputs on that. Another few things is Yeah, this like even after having a bit of height, this is not that helpful, like having two scroll bars. So for now it might work, but yeah, uh, something I'll be working on. But
Great.
yeah,
I think one of the takeaways here is for those like Kapil who are working on connections, and we were just trying to, I was just alluding to the fact that there's a connection wizard that is model specific, is that this wizard or some of the UI behind it is to be reused, or like when we pull up the other wizard for the well, if we were able to pull up the Grafana and Prometheus wizard, they are reusing part of these. And so some of the effort put into helping ensure that we can have reusable wizards that have verification checks before someone can go to the next step, or how we handle like updating status of a task that's being done. This is the sort of experience that we're hoping to bring to the rest of the connections. Like, and so just for
got it.
Yeah.
Good. This one becomes important for anyone who wants to bulk import existing Kubernetes manifests or existing Helm charts and turn those into designs. And so that this particular wizard it is significantly addresses that, because I think otherwise most of the other ways that people can import a design or import existing infrastructure as code files, I think it's generally like one at a time, like one Helm chart at a time, one Kubernetes manifest at a time. What's inside of a Kubernetes manifest? Sure, people can pile it on and like just and put a lot of things into one file, but yeah, that's the value of this particular wizard. It's good.
That's it. I'll be further sharing any changes to this.
Yeah, so thank you, Savik, and thanks everyone for joining this call. This will be the time we, end the call. And like before we, do that, I'll be quickly sharing this meeting calendar. So all the weekly meeting that we have in the community, you can be part of them using this particular link that is in chat. With that, I'll see you on next Wednesday. Bye.
Okay, so tomorrow, I don't know if it was just said, but we have the build and release call tomorrow. And so there's some of you that are here might have an agenda item or two, but that meeting, I believe, I think Sangram is probably hosting tomorrow, and I think it meets at the same starting time as today's meeting. Be there or be square. I think that's the message. Wonderful. Hey, thanks. I just wanted to toss that in before we dropped. All right. Let's check everybody. Let's see you guys later.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great one today. Bye-bye.
I guess.